You know that feeling, right? You kick off your shoes, walk on some cool grass, and boom, instant calm. Well, there's a whole theory that this isn't just a feeling. It's actually a kind of therapy called earthing. And today, we're going to dig into the science, the history, and, yeah, the big controversy behind reconnecting our bodies to the planet.
Okay, so think about this. You ground your toaster, right? Your computer, your washing machine. You do it to keep them safe from electrical surges. It's just standard. But what if that same exact principle could apply to us, to our own bodies? The whole idea behind earthing is basically asking that question. Could grounding ourselves be just as vital for our health?
All right, let's get one thing straight right out of the gate. We're talking about two totally different things here. Electrical grounding, that's what saves you from getting zapped by a faulty blender. But what we're talking about, this therapeutic earthing, that's a whole other ballgame. It's the idea that we can literally tap into the Earth's natural energy for real, measurable health benefits.
So where does this idea even come from? Well, the whole story of earthing really starts with a pretty simple but powerful idea that modern life has created this huge evolutionary disconnect. The people who are really into this argue that we've lost a super fundamental connection to the planet, a connection we've had for pretty much all of human history.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Our ancestors, they walked barefoot. They slept right on the ground, maybe on animal skins that could still conduct electricity. That constant, direct physical contact meant their bodies were always at the same electrical level as the Earth itself. It wasn't something they thought about. It was just their natural state of being.
And you can actually see this separation happen over time. For centuries, for most of human history, we were either barefoot or wearing shoes made of conductive stuff, like leather. No big deal. But then, things started to change. You hit the late 1800s and bam, the first rubber-soled shoes are invented. Fast forward to after World War II, and suddenly, synthetic insulating materials are everywhere. We basically started wrapping our feet in plastic, and just like that, we severed that direct electrical connection to the ground.
Okay, so if we really are disconnected, what exactly are we missing out on? This question leads us right to the core scientific claim behind the whole earthing movement, what they call the electron transfer theory.
So to get this theory, we first have to talk about these little troublemakers in our bodies called free radicals. Basically, they're unstable molecules. They're a natural byproduct of, just living and breathing, but they're kind of like tiny little wrecking balls that can damage our cells. This process is called oxidative stress, and it's a huge driver of inflammation and a ton of chronic diseases.
This is where the theory of earthing offers what proponents call a really simple, almost elegant solution. It's a three-step process. First, your bare skin touches the earth. Simple enough. Second, the Earth's surface has this massive, practically infinite supply of free electrons. So, those electrons flow from the ground right into your body. And third, and this is the key part, these negatively charged electrons go to work neutralizing those positively charged free radicals. It's like the ultimate, all-natural antioxidant. So, in a way, the theory completely reframes how we see the ground beneath our feet. It's not just dirt and rock, it's this gigantic antioxidant reservoir. And as one study puts it, the Earth might just be the ultimate supplier of these crucial electrons. And we've just, unplugged ourselves from it. Okay, so let's just assume for a minute that this electron transfer thing is real. What does it actually do for our health? Well, proponents of earthing point to a whole bunch of measurable physiological changes. When you look at the studies, the reported effects really suggest a whole body shift away from a state of stress. We're talking claims of normalized cortisol rhythms, that's our main stress hormone, and a big shift in the nervous system from that panicked fight-or-flight mode to the calm rest and digest state. But they also report real physical changes like reduced blood viscosity, thinner blood, and lower markers of inflammation, which is really at the very center of this whole theory.
Yeah, let's dive into that blood flow claim for a second, because it's one of the most specific ones. The theory goes like this. Your red blood cells have a natural negative charge on their surface. This is good. It makes them repel each other so they don't get all clumpy and can flow easily. What earthing supposedly does is boost that negative charge. The result, the cells push away from each other even more strongly, which basically thins the blood and improves circulation all over your body.
Okay, I've got to admit, the promises are really compelling. But this is where we have to put on our skeptic hats and really examine the evidence with a critical eye. Just how strong is the science actually backing up all these incredible claims?
And that's really the million-dollar question, isn't it? How strong is this evidence really? Is this all built on a solid foundation of rigorous science? Or are there some pretty serious cracks in the whole thing?
Well, when you look at the critiques, they pretty consistently boil down to three main issues. First up, study design. A lot of these studies have really small sample sizes. We're talking like 20 to 60 people, which makes it super hard to say their conclusions apply to everyone. Second, publication quality. The studies often show up in what are called pay-to-publish journals, where the standards for peer review can sometimes be, well, a bit lower. And third, and this is a big one, is researcher bias. You often see studies funded by the very same companies that are selling the grounding products.
And this quote here really gets to the heart of that publication quality concern. When journals charge authors to publish, it can create a nasty conflict of interest. It might lead to questionable or even flawed studies getting published, what some people flat out call junk science. For the wider scientific community, that's a huge red flag.
Now, beyond the debate over the evidence itself, there's a really serious practical concern we have to talk about: safety. These indoor grounding products literally connect your body to your home's electrical grounding system. Think about that. Electrical safety codes, like the National Electrical Code, are all designed to prevent the human body from becoming part of an electrical circuit. Experts warn that intentionally doing that could fly in the face of these safety standards, and in a worst-case scenario like an electrical fault, you could literally become the path of least resistance for the electricity. And that is not good.
And here's another key point that often gets missed. It's this disconnect between the research and the products being sold. A lot of the foundational studies were done with people in direct contact with the actual earth, soil, grass. The idea that a mat you plug into a wall outlet gives you the exact same biological benefits, well, a lot of the time, that's just a theoretical extension. It's an assumption, not something that's been rigorously proven over and over again.
So where does all this leave us? It feels like we're caught in the middle, right? On one side, you have this really compelling evolutionary story, and it's backed by some genuinely intriguing data. But on the other side, you've got these really serious questions about the quality of that research and, frankly, the safety of the products themselves.
And I think this really boils it down to the absolute heart of the matter. We know that connecting with nature is good for us. That's not really up for debate. But connecting to a wire, well, that's where things get a lot more debatable, a lot more controversial, and potentially a lot more risky.
Ultimately, this whole debate over earthing leaves us with a really provocative question to chew on. As we're all searching for ways to be well in this crazy modern world, is the answer in some new technology, some new mat or patch? Or is it in something ancient, something simple that we've just lost touch with? Maybe, just maybe, the solution has been right under our feet this entire time.